Monday Night Sport with Jeff and Luke. A woman from Thornborough in Buckinghamshire will be taking part in the longest horse race in the world this August. I have established it's nothing to do with long horses. It's the race that's long. Jeff.
Yes, and we are going to speak to her now because the Mongol Rally sees a mixture of professional and amateur riders travelling over 600 miles across Mongolia on semi-wild horses. We love this story. We absolutely love it because we want to find out more about it. Vikki Wojcik is doing this, and what we want to know, Vikki, she's in the studio with us now, is why are you doing this?
I'm kind of asking myself the same question as well now, especially after the press release and seeing the other riders who seem to be all pretty
Some of them are
competent, and there's a guy apparently that was in the Grand National 8 times.
Oh, that's all right. Don't worry. Grand National they just go round and jump a few.
Professional stunt riders and all sorts. So, yeah, I've kind of questioned the same thing. But basically, I heard about it in 2009. I was doing a bit of research on endurance because I was moving to the Middle East, and in the UK I was kind of doing show jumping and a bit of hunting and things. But out in Qatar, where I went to live, they did endurance. So I thought I'll find out a little bit more about it, and came across a website that told me all about the Mongol Derby, and it just looked amazing. And I thought to myself, I'd really like to do that one, at some point in the future. I applied to do it this year and was accepted, and that's it, really.
It's fantastic. Just give us a little bit of background of the race and how long it is, and over how, is it over days? What do you do? Where the horse is from?
Yeah, it's 1,000 kilometres across the steppes of Mongolia, and basically it recreates Genghis Khan's kind of horse messenger system, a small part of it anyway. And you get to ride lots of different horses. Each horse you only ride for 40 kilometres. So every horse you get on is fresh, and it's more a test of your endurance rather than the horses.
Right.
But there's a really intensive kind of veterinary backup system, and every horse you ride has got to have a vet check, both prior to you mounting it and once you dismount.
Do you know,
well.
I mean, OK, you're riding different horses, but do you know the horses you're going to ride?
No.
So you'll turn up and there'll be a pen full of horses and you just get the next one and off you go. I know that's a really basic way of saying it, but I'm just trying to make people understand how it works.
Yeah, I think that's the case. I'll be able to kind of know more once I'm there. But basically, as it stands, you turn up, you have 3 days of pre-race training where they teach you how to use like the GPS and what to do in a medical emergency, because you pretty much left your own devices. So it's remote medical and veterinary assistance that will be there for you.
Yeah.
After those 3 days, as long as the organisers think that you're fit and healthy and up for the challenge, you start the race, get on a horse, ride it for 40 kilometres, have to pass the vet check. So they'll look at its heart rate, its metabolics, its hydration, to make sure that you're looking after the horses and that you're doing everything you can to keep them healthy as well. And then you just swap horses, you get on another one for 40k, same again with the vet checks, and then another and another. And basically it'll take any time between 7 to 10 days, they say. And I think if you haven't completed it by 10 days, they scrap you, you're out. That's it.
Yeah, like,
you give it up on.
Yeah, taking far too long. And
so when you're out there in the 40, obviously each 40-kilometre changeover, there'll be people and there'll be drinks, I'd imagine, for you and all that kind of stuff, won't there?
Yeah.
But during that 40 kilometres, I mean, there'll be other riders, presumably, but it will start to space itself out as the kilometres go on and on and on, won't it? So you may not see somebody for...
No, I was speaking to a girl, actually, that competed last year, and she said she started off with a group of people, and then it becomes more tactical. I think some people are in it to win it, others might be in it just to try and complete it, because not everybody manages to finish it. And yeah, as you said, I think people will end up spreading out. You might have a day or 2 days or 3 days where you're riding by yourself.
Does that concern you, the loneliness of that, or is that something
not
you
really. I think
you're okay with?
Well, I think so. Again, it'll time will tell. But
is it across desert? Is it going to be across desert the whole time?
Mixed terrain. There's mountains. There's lots of different terrain, and you just have to see.
I'm quite scared for you, actually.
I'm a little bit scared.
You didn't want to meet us two then?
No, I was sitting out there waiting, thinking, oh dear.
He's scared of horses, this one here.
So I heard. I thought it might be the longest horse as well.
Semi-wild, what does that mean?
They basically, the organisers have been out to Mongolia every year since 2009, and they approach the Mongolian people and ask them to prepare about 1,000 horses. So for January or February, so I think they're out there at the moment. And basically, the organisers will go out, they'll be presented with this 1,000 head of horses that the Mongolians have got together, and then they'll start breaking them. So by that I mean putting saddles on them and getting people used to riding them, because the way they're ridden is very different to how we'd probably ride at home with dressage and show jumping and eventing. And it's much more, they're not trained. They are what they are. They're used by the
They're
Mongolian
semi-wild,
people.
which means they don't go out during the week. They just binge at the weekend.
Just to the weekend.
They're just semi-wild.
Would you get one of them?
No.
You wouldn't go anywhere near
I wouldn't get
one
on a
of them.
Shetland pony. Seriously. You know that. Why do you ask me questions like that when you know the answer to them? Stop embarrassing me.
So are you there to just to take part, or you were there to try and win it? I mean, you're obviously a rider, aren't you?
Yeah, I am a rider. I think you've got to go out there with the mindset that you're in it to win it. Otherwise, there's no real point in travelling all the way to the other side of the world, pretty much. It's a long way. It's a massive challenge. And I think you've got to be in it to win it in order to give it your best shot. So it's kind of lots of pre-training before I get there.
I do have a tendency to ask stupid questions.
Okay.
Sometimes. You're riding a lot, and there's the possibility of chafage. I'm worried about chafage. Are you taking precautions for chafing?
Yeah, generally, because you're...
See, it wasn't a stupid
No, it's
question.
not a
For
stupid
once,
question.
it's not a stupid question.
On the kind of inside of your knees, because when you're riding, especially in endurance, you're out of the saddle. You're not sat in the saddle.
Right.
Apart from if you're at a walk, but generally you're not going to be walking. So rather than cantering like you would in dressage where you'd be sat down in the saddle, you want to be up off the horse's back. So a bit more like what they do in cross country, if you've seen it.
That must be
So
exhausting.
you're going to be, basically stood up for hours, 10 to 12 hours a day on the horse's
Riding constantly, obviously, until you do your
not just-
40k.
Yeah. And so on the inside of your legs. So in the UK, when I do endurance, I tend to put like tuber grips underneath my joggers,
Right,
just
okay.
on my knees, just so it's a bit like wearing an extra pair of socks to prevent blisters on your heels. So yeah, no, that's not a silly question at all. All of these.
There you go. Not
Well
silly,
prepared,
Luke. Not silly. Is there a reason why? Are you doing it for charity, or is there a reason behind it?
I'm because it's such a big challenge, and it's what I wanted to do. I thought it would be good to raise money for some charities in doing so. So I'm completely self-funding the race, like that's coming, from my own pocket. But there's two charities that I'm raising money for, and both of those are to do with head injuries, and brain injuries. So one of them is the Impaired Consciousness Research Group that's based at Cambridge University and Adam Brooks Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And what they're doing is they're looking to see if they can further research because it's such an unknown quantity, really, brain injuries. So they're looking from anybody with, from strokes to comas to semi-consciousness, and how we can develop it and see what better care those people can get, be given. And then the other one's a hospital called Holy Cross, which again cares for people with brain injuries, and that's down in Hazelmere in Surrey. So yeah, I'm fundraising for that, and every penny donated goes to those two, split 50-50. So it's hopefully be able to raise lots of money as well.
Obviously, you're gonna have the time when you're there where they're going to see you, and they're going to say, I was going to say to check that you're sane, but actually they're probably going to check you the other way, because if you were sane, you wouldn't be doing this. But they're going to check that you're competent and you're able to do this. The training up until that point, where are you doing that? You're living in Qatar. You're in Thornborough.
No, I'm back in.
You're back in the UK now.
UK now. Yeah, I've been back for a couple of years, but
Do you have your own horses?
I don't. No, I used to, but not
how
anymore.
difficult is it then what I'm trying to say is, how difficult is it to recreate the mixed terrain of Mongolia in
Massively.
Buckinghamshire?
Massively. So I ride. There's an endurance trainer called Jamie Bone. She's based in Wantage, and so I go up and I ride her horses and compete some of the horses that she trains. And apart from that, just lots of running and swimming. I mean, I'm never going to be able to prepare fully, I don't think, for this in the sense of riding time, because there's just not.
No.
You've got to work as well.
So there's
It's not
absolutely. There's quite a lot of work, exercise-wise and endurance-wise. You can do off the saddle, you can do off the horse, can't you? There's a lot of that. I'm just thinking
Yes.
about what we've been discussing already.
Some running, some swimming, kind of upping that a little bit. Any activity, any endurance-based activity, is going to help. The best thing would be ride time, getting myself in the saddle. But
You're not going to be able to ride for
the whole time.
10 hours a day, are you?
No.
You wouldn't have anywhere to go. And this is taking place in August.
August, right at the beginning of August.
We've got to follow you. We've
There
got
is.
to follow you.
Yeah, on the Mongolian Derby website, I've got a blog, and we'll be sending live updates during the race so that you can see kind of how I'm going and what I'm doing.
And how many are you up against? So how many are doing it?
43 in total.
43.
And 7 from the UK.
Could you, we've got about a minute left,
Yes.
could you, during the race, at some point...
Yes.
What are you going to say
I
here?
don't know.
What?
Go on.
It's a long
Go on.
shot.
Yeah.
Could you, at some point, in one of those 40-kilometre stretches, could you have a mobile phone and speak to us live on this programme?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Or
That'd be great.
we'll talk, and maybe the time difference, but we'll play it out live on the programme.
Yeah.
That'd be fantastic.
Okay, we'll do that. We'll arrange that off air. But I just think this is it's such a interesting story, and it's great to have you in to tell us about it. So.
That's great.
Great stuff. Well, we're going to hope that you do really well. Let's try and be the top Brit. And you wanted to mention where to go for charity.
Yeah, if people, it's such a good cause. I know there's lots of good causes out there, but if people do feel like they'd like to donate, like I said, every penny goes to charity. And the some local companies, the NFU in Buckingham, has kindly said if people want to drop donations in there, they'll forward that on to me, or if I can leave my website address with you guys, and then if people do, that'd be great. Thank you.
Absolutely, no problems at all. Brilliant stuff. Vikki, great to meet you.